Spider-Man Far From Home gave us everything we could have asked for and more. We got amazing battles that were visual spectacles and epic plot twists that we honestly saw coming from a mile away. But if you're still scratching your head trying to make sense of the ending of the movie and the post-credit scenes, don't worry, we got you covered. We'll get into all of that and even tell you what it means for the future of the MCU in Phase 4 and beyond. Spider-Man Far From Home was one heck of an incredible movie, and we're not just saying that because it wasn't 3 hours long. Not having to go to the bathroom halfway through the film was great, but it was far from the best thing about the movie. That final battle was something special and a visual masterpiece, just like we've come to expect from Marvel Studios. To the surprise of no one, it turns out that Mysterio was a fraud this whole time, and all those elementals we saw wreaking havoc were just projections he was able to create due to his incredible skills as an illusion specialist. He was also a special effects guy in the comics, so it's great that they stayed true to the source material in the movie. Anyway, we were very happy that Mysterio got what he deserved at the end of the movie when he was defeated by Spider-Man and died from a misfired gunshot. Fans are already speculating that Mysterio isn't gone for good, stating that if he could create fake elementals, then he could easily fake his own death. At the beginning of the mid-credits scene of Spider-Man Far From Home, it all seemed like a happy ending. Spider-Man defeated the bad guy and got the girl, swinging through the streets of New York with MJ in his arms. That feeling of euphoria changed in an instant when he set MJ down and leapt on top of a nearby lamppost. What Peter saw changed everything. A new report started playing on one of Madison Square Garden's many big screens with a breaking news story from the dailybugle.net. This breaking news story was terrible, no good, awful news for Peter. But the one positive was seeing Jonah Jameson, played by J.K. Simmons, make his MCU debut. Simmons is best known for his roles in the shows Law & Order, Oz, The Closer, and Counterpart. Jonah Jameson shared a video Mysterio recorded, but just like the man himself, the video is also a fraud. The video was manipulated to make it look like Spider-Man was the one wreaking havoc in Europe, and not those fake elementals created by Mysterio. This means that Jonah Jameson had led everyone to believe that Spider-Man is a menace to society and should not be trusted, even going as far to say that Spidey was the one who murdered the world's greatest superhero, who's Mysterio in this case. What a joke. If that wasn't enough, things get even worse for Peter Parker in the second half of the video when Mysterio reveals the true identity of Spider-Man and includes a picture of Peter to boot. Yeah, that's not good at all. We see Peter watch on in horror before the credits continue. This little scene could have major implications for Spider-Man's future in the MCU. While it's not shocking for the heroes of the MCU to reveal their identities, it's usually done by themselves under their own volition. Think back to the first time Tony Stark let everyone know he was Iron Man. He didn't need to say it, but he did, and it became one of the most iconic moments in MCU history. The world learned about Peter's identity through a video made by a fraud that was shared on a tabloid website. We don't expect this to affect his relationship with MJ because she played a vital part in helping Spider-Man defeat Mysterio, so she knows who the real Peter Parker is. But everyone else in New York City and around the world will have a different opinion about our favorite web-slinger, and it's probably not a good one. Now, you may be saying, well, surely the Avengers and S.H.I.E.L.D. will know Peter didn't do any of this, so they can tell the public the truth, right? Well, that video is going to make it very difficult to sway the public's opinion either way about Spider-Man. Actions speak louder than words, and to the public, the video is showing the actions of Spider-Man being a villain. It's also possible that this opens the door to a new Spider-Man trait we haven't really seen too much of yet in the MCU, the spider tingle. Oh, wait, no, we're thinking about a different trait. But isn't it hilarious that the famous spider sense is known as Peter Tingle in the MCU? Yeah, it's hilarious. Anyway, in the comics, Spider-Man is not only a teenager, but he's a genius. He's a naturally curious mind who just loves everything to do with science. We saw this in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man franchise, so with school not really an option for the web-slinger, he might have to educate himself and become a self-made genius. Expect to see a Spider-Man focused on self-improvement and repairing his reputation in Phase 4 of the MCU. This also means that villains might start coming out of the woodwork to apprehend Spider-Man, bring him into an NYPD station, and hopefully get immunity for the crimes they committed in the past. This means we could see popular villains like Dr. Octopus, Scorpion, Chameleon, Shocker, Electro, and the Green Goblin in Phase 4. Heck, maybe they could all group up to become the Sinister Six. one of the most dastardly groups of villains we've ever seen in Marvel Comics. Well, we'd like to at least see one of these villains because too many villains doesn't always work well for Spider-Man movies, and yeah, we're looking at you, Spider-Man 3. If you stayed until the end of the credits, then you would have seen the post-credits scenes of the movie, and who are we kidding? Of course you stayed until the end. If you didn't, you're not a dedicated MCU fan and probably aren't watching this video in the first place. Anyway, the post-credit scene starts with Nick Fury and Maria Hill driving together until all of a sudden, they transform into Talos and his wife. Yeah, it turns out they were Skrulls this whole time. Well, actually, no, they weren't. It was still the real Nick Fury who we saw interacting with Spider-Man in Far From Home, or at least we think it is. If the Skrulls are pretending to be Nick Fury and Maria Hill, then where are the real ones? While we didn't actually see the real Maria Hill in the post-credit scene, we did see the real Nick Fury. He decided to take a break after the events of the movie, and quite frankly, he deserved it. Nick Fury has been through a lot lately. He was dusted after Thanos' snap in Infinity War, and then, not too long after, he came back to life. He had to find Spider-Man in Europe and go through that whole debacle. So it's about time Fury gets to chill out on a beach, which turns out to be a simulation, and he's actually aboard a spaceship full of Skrulls. He then asks if anyone's seen his shoes. Never change, Fury, never change. While this all seems like an innocent little scene played off as a joke, we don't see it that way. You know us here at CBR, we always try to find the hidden meaning behind every little thing we get to see in the MCU, and this is no different. We think this scene could be hinting at the Secret Invasion storyline from the comics. If you're unaware of the Secret Invasion storyline, it was one of the best in the comics. You see, in Captain Marvel, we were led to believe that the Skrulls were the good guys, but hardcore comic book fans know that these shape-shifting aliens aren't to be trusted. Now that we've seen this post-credit scene, it literally takes no setup at all to introduce this storyline into the MCU. It's a story of who do you trust, and by the end of it, your answer will be no one. For a time, everything that could go wrong in the Marvel Universe was going wrong. Nick Fury was MIA, S.H.I.E.L.D. was doing very un-S.H.I.E.L.D.-like things, and everything was just odd. It turns out that the people responsible for all of this craziness were, you guessed it, those pesky Skrulls. It's important to know how their shape-shifting really works. They can't shapeshift into anyone they haven't seen yet, but if they've seen you, then they can look exactly like you. That being said, if they shapeshift into Thor, for example, they wouldn't be able to use the same powers as him, but they would be able to look exactly like him, to the point where you couldn't notice a difference no matter how hard you tried. In the finale, the Skrulls fight the Avengers, the X-Men, and even supervillains who tried to defend the planet. Almost everyone in the Marvel Universe, good and bad, combined forces to try and get rid of the Skrulls. In the end, our heroes and even villains in this case win, as they usually do, and Norman Osborn, aka the Green Goblin, wins the day by becoming the head of world security, ushering in the Dark Reign. Who knows what Talos and his wife could do in the short time they're covering for Nick Fury and Maria Hill. They could infiltrate S.H.I.E.L.D. and access some classified documents that may change their opinion on the organization and the heroes associated with it. This could allow them to become the bad guys that we think they've been the whole time. Even the aftermath of the Secret Invasion storyline could tie into the MCU, where we could see Norman Osborn's Dark Reign storyline begin right after the dust settles from the Secret Invasion. Norman is already a powerful guy to begin with, as the Green Goblin is no joke when it comes to villains, so giving him even more power isn't going to be a good thing for our heroes. He's a character we haven't been introduced to yet in the MCU, but we expect to see him sometime in Phase 4 or by Phase 5 at the latest. It's possible that he could become the next big bad for our Earth-based heroes. Whatever the case may be, our boy Peter Parker is going to have his work cut out for him in Phase 4 and beyond. We don't envy him right now, but we're sure he's going to get through it because that's what heroes do. And that's everything you need to know about the ending and post-credit scenes of Spider-Man Far From Home. What did you think of the movie? Do you think the Secret Invasion storyline is going to happen soon? Let us know in the comments section below, and don't forget to subscribe to CBR for more MCU videos. Thanks for watching.